Hi guys, welcome back to another video. I've had kind of a little bit of a hit of loneliness. I've been dreaming about my husband and like that we meet in my dreams, and I'm like toward the end of the dream when I'm like almost waking up, I'm like looking for him. I can't find him, but I knew he was alive. And then I wake up and I find that he's gone, and it just makes me really sad. And when I don't have anything planned on a Saturday night like yesterday, that's when like that real deep loneliness strikes. And I have friends, but I don't really have someone like my bestie or like someone who I always feel I can call or just even come over. I don't do it. Maybe I could have. I have my dance friends, my perfume friends. I've got neighbors. I've got people to go out with. I've got all sorts of different friends, but I don't really have that one friend that always has my back, I guess you could say. And yesterday there were alternatives for me to do, but I just really wanted to be home and I just wanted someone there by my side. That's kind of the feeling that I had. And the same thing today. It's Sunday and I didn't have anything special planned. But then I ended up going to a dance class and I felt better afterwards. And I'm actually going back to the gym at 4 for another very intense class that is kind of way out of my comfort zone. Anything that has to do with dancing, choreography, like either it's a dance floor or social dancing, or it's like an aerobics type of, studio or dance place. I'm always really comfortable with that. That's just for me pure fun. I love that, and I always feel better afterwards. And I just thought I would come on, and I'm just going to give you that because that's kind of personally where I'm at right now. I'm not having any more showings of the house until another week because we've had like a midterm break kind of thing in Sweden. So a lot of people have been out of town. But okay, a couple of videos ago, I shared with you guys that I was really enjoying this fragrance called Patchoulight from Patchoulight in one word. It's from the house of Hermetica. I have a discovery set that I've kind of been trying my way through. It's an EDP. It's oil based. It's not alcohol based, but this fragrance is it's a rose patch fragrance. And I thought I was so bored with this type of category that I was almost not even going to try this because I thought I've had it with these fragrances. I want another category. Give me something new. Give me something fresh. But I really, really enjoyed it. The warmth and the depth and the sweetness of the rose. And it kind of like opened me up again to go back to this fragrance, Rosae Mundi from Profumum Roma. And I wore them side by side yesterday. And I do think this is a little bit deeper, darker, and more masculine than this one has a little bit of lemon and also I think some iris that kind of brightens it up a little bit. But they are very similar. I'd say they're 80% similar. And I kind of wish I had a bottle of this rather than of this. But, I mean, this is also really good, and I think I'm going to start wearing it again. But what I will do, and what I did yesterday, like after half the day had gone, and I felt like, just kind of intensifying my fragrance a little bit. I thought maybe I was going out, but I wasn't. I took some of this. I can't remember which one I took, but I also added some patchouli from the same house as this, Profumum Roma. And this is really like a dark, really intense, chocolatey, with a hint of mint, or this is at least what I'm getting. I don't know if it's listed, but some patchoulis do this. They have like a little bit of that cold note on top. This is pretty similar to Psychedelic from Javoy, if you're familiar with that. Super, super strong. But I have this little, it comes in these, they also give you these little, when you buy a full-size bottle, they give you a little roller ball thing that you can refill. So I just rolled a little bit of that on top. And it really smelled so good, like all night. I was enjoying my own fragrance. So I'm kind of a little bit back on rose and we're kind of happy about it. Okay, that was that. Then my bottle of Bel Ami Vetiver arrived. And the first thing was like, was it really this good? I'm not sure. Maybe I got a bottle too much. When I first wore it, I was like, wow, wow, wow. It's pretty leathery. Like, it's pretty masculine and leathery. But I really, really enjoyed it the first time I wore it. And I gave it a good wearing. So I think it's just like kind of the mood I'm in. Maybe it was like what I was what I was wearing before that, and then I went to this one, and I kind of felt like I wasn't really in the mood. So I'll get back to you on this one if this is a keeper or not. I think I got a pretty good price on it because these are not cheap. Hermès is not cheap, but it's very powdery and French and has like a leather base. Very nice, very nice. But now I don't know if I would have needed it. It feels pretty modern. It's like not that old chypre style, like my old vintage Bel Ami, the original is old. I can tell it has more of that old, like old carnation, old oak moss. This is different. This feels modern. Then I got, okay, before I jump into my next purchase, I'm going to tell you about I wore two, I just couldn't decide the other day what I wanted to wear. So I put one perfume on my left arm and one on my right. And I just noticed that some perfumes don't really benefit from getting compared to each other. And I had on one hand, and from Guerlain, Neroli Outrenoir. I've talked about this. It's kind of a really fresh, citrusy neroli fragrance, but it also has this interesting tea mid. So a little bit of bitterness in the mix, and also a little bit tad of sweetness. Maybe there is some like benzoin or something in the base that gives this little sweetness. Maybe it's tonka, something like that. But on the other arm, I put Serge Lutens L'eau Froide, means cold water, which I really have enjoyed. It's super fresh. It has a little bit of a marine quality to it, and I've really, really enjoyed it. But when I tried them side by side, I hardly like this one. Like they don't do well together. Like the sweetness of the Neroli Outrenoir, which is not even a sweet fragrance, kind of made this one feel flat or something. It was like they did not, I thought they'd be two kind of freshies, which they are, that would like work for the same type of occasion. It was kind of a morning, but I really, really like L'eau Froide, and I really recommend it. It's a current formula. You can go get it. It's not that expensive, but I've really enjoyed it, but worn individually, not next to this Neroli Outrenoir, because it somehow brings out the bad things in this, or I don't know, together they didn't work. And I'm going to tell you soon about my new purchase. I just wanted to tell you a little bit about a house called, I got this from someone last summer, and I haven't tried them yet. It's from a brand called Aimée de Mars. They call it aroma perfumes. Like they're all kind of, they correspond to a certain chakra. And they're like the different notes, like, you know, rose is supposed to be calming maybe. And it's all kind of for each fragrance. If you go online, you can, to their website, you can kind of read about what the fragrance does to you, kind of in a more like a yogi kind of way. And I was just kind of like a little bit prejudiced against these natural. They're all natural. The price point is pretty good. I found them online. They're actually on Fragrantica now. I think they were not when I checked last summer. But they also sell some solids, I saw. But these ones they come in EDP concentration. And I'll just tell you, I'm not going to tell you about each one in particular, but I can just say I've tried 4 of them. And I really like them. They're really natural, powdery, floral perfumes. One is called, the iris one I really liked, let's see, is called Mythique Mythique Iris, and there's another one called Mythique something else. Let's see, Mythique Emerald. Let me see here, Mystique Amethyst, and then I also tried one called Doux Saphir. I think that one wasn't among these, but I have like a whole packet of these. There were like 7 fragrances or something in this little particular discovery set. But this little booklet has like many more fragrances. So the discovery set is only like half of what they have to offer. And I thought maybe some of you guys are sensitive to, you know, alcohol-based perfumes that are all based on synthetics. Sorry about my phone plinging over there. And might be looking for something like this. I was really surprised about the quality and the sillage. And I don't know how long they last. I haven't like measured in hours, but they're decent performing perfumes that give a really nice sillage. The iris one, the amethyst one, and the Doux sapphire, they all have like a really feminine, powdery French kind of quality that I think might be suitable like for a lot of people, like people pleasers, but not boring. I really have enjoyed these fragrances. And there's one now called Bel Rose, that I'm looking forward to trying, but I've been so off rose that I haven't even wanted to try it. But now I will, because I really like these Aimée de Mars fragrances. So I'm going to get back to them. Then I did actually buy, for a really low price, a fragrance that I had never seen before, but it does ring a bell, Fidji from Guy Laroche. Like I knew it was old, and you can kind of tell by the bottle, and it's a 57 milliliter bottle, which is a really uncommon size. And when I got it in the mail now, let's see, it's an EDT. It had kind of leaked because it's also, there's a little crack in the top. Otherwise, the perfume is in mint condition. It's a splash bottle, and like it if you turn it upside down, it kind of leaks. So it was all wrapped in bubble wrap, but it was all wet on the inside. I don't think I lost much juice because you see how full it is, but this is really vintagey and really fresh. And I think this bottle, I mean, at least the seller put that it's from the 80s. And I think that she's right, because I know that I checked the batch code, and that batch code said that this was 17 years old and it was produced in 2006. But then I heard that they reuse batch codes like every 10 or 15 years. So it could be, I think this one is actually from the 80s, because I don't think they sold perfumes like this in 2006. Everything was all spray. You hardly ever see things like this for sale. I mean, in 2006, that's when my son was born. I can't remember them like having these things on the shelves back then. So I think this is in fact an 80s bottle. And it is really, and you can smell it even though you don't take the top off. I've worn it a little bit, but not on its own. And I think it's really beautiful, but maybe a little bit like, I think maybe many people would find this a little bit dated, a little bit like an older woman, but it's like super, it's fresh, it's green, it's powdery. It's a little bit soapy. I think it's really, really beautiful. So happy with it. I paid like nothing for this, like 20 bucks maybe, including the postage. It was something like that. Really, really good price. So happy about it, and that I dared, because I never blind buy it, but now I thought it was sort of like worth it. And I'll get back to you a little bit on how I'm doing with this one. I'm a little bit worried that people might think I smell like someone's grandma or something like that, but I myself am enjoying it a lot. It gets compared to, what's it called? Zen from Shiseido, that comes in a black bottle that I've talked about before on this channel. It's like super, super beautiful, but the longevity is pretty poor. My friend has a bottle. It is just gorgeous, that smell. Okay, that was that. And then today, right now, I'm actually wearing, even though I'm going to the gym, to this really hard workout class, starts at 4 in about 35 minutes. I am wearing, I only have a decant, and it's created by Bertrand de Chafour, and it's called Ashoka. I've talked about it before. It's a beautiful floral, woody fig fragrance, kind of creamy sandalwood. It's incredibly beautiful. And I have it like all over my arms. And then I thought, this is pretty similar to some other fragrances that I also have in my collection. One I just sold, and it was, what's it called? Lost Alice. And then I also thought of, this is the closest thing that I have. It's Amouage. It's lost its little thing. This is a tester bottle. So the bottle is not looking that great. And it also has just like a little top. It doesn't have like the fancy top, but it smells perfect. In the dry down, they're very, very similar. But there's no getting around it. Ashoka is another level of quality. It is so much better. It's more sweet floral in there. This one just seems a little more simple, it's just not as good, like the fragrance profile is the same. It's a creamy sandalwood. I get a little bit of a fig vibe, even though it's not listed. I mean, they're so similar. They're really similar, especially in the dry down. But I thought this fragrance. Did I tell you this was Meander from Amouage? I think I did, but I'll say it again. I find that a lot when I'm like watching videos. I'm listening to this perfume pod now. It's called Eau de Pod. It's in Swedish. If you're listening from Sweden, I really highly recommend these two women. They're pretty young, or they're like young mothers, probably in their 30s, I'm guessing. And I love they're just kind of like, you know, ranting about perfume the way I would with my friends and making associations. And they have such a good vocabulary. They're kind of intellectual. I just love the way they're not so much into notes. Like they don't read the notes. I mean, sometimes they will and like try to find something, but they're more about like explaining, you know, the way that makes them feel, or there's a special story around it, or, you know, it reminds them of something when they were younger. Anyway, what was I going to say about that? This is Angelique from Papillon, because this one also reminds me a lot of Ashoka. I thought, I have it on this hand. So I have, on my arms, I have Ashoka. On this hand, I have Meander from Amouage. And on this hand, I have Angelique from Papillon. And I thought this one was my favorite out of these, but now they don't seem so similar. This is more about orris, and those are more about sandalwood. This is a really creamy orris. Like orris is a really buttery fragrance with mimosa. And I think it's the cedar wood in this one that kind of comes through. It's not as sweet and floral to me as Ashoka. Ashoka has another depth. There are more facets to it. This is a little bit more simple. I mean, I love when I wear this, but when I wore it next to Ashoka, this one was a little bit disappointing. So sometimes wearing two fragrances like this can like make you get disappointed in a fragrance that you normally would have liked. Like, you know, when you take a sip of freshly squeezed orange juice, when you've just had a sip of Coke, it tastes sour. And you kind of miss the whole sweetness of the orange because of the comparison between the two, if you know what I mean. It's like it just seems sour because you just had something super sugary. And I think that's kind of what's going on here. The nice qualities, the woody qualities and the buttery qualities of this one kind of you kind of miss them a little bit because the seductive sweet florals in Ashoka, I think that's what's kind of happening here. I think maybe Ashoka has something like resinous or like incensey going on as well. I love Ashoka. It's super expensive though. I mean, this is not cheap either, but Ashoka is like really high. But I keep coming back to it. That's my second decant. My friend has a whole bottle, but I can't keep taking decants from her. She'll have nothing left, you know? So anyway, so I guess my point, the thing I wanted to share with you today was like, sometimes when you try things side by side, they appear different than if you're trying it as a standalone. So you need to do both. I mean, you can try things just to kind of, if you want to make up your mind, do I need this in my collection? Is it similar? Is it too similar to something I already have? Would it be more worthwhile to try something completely different that actually fills a void in my collection? But if you're, in terms of like, do I appreciate this? Do I like this fragrance? I think it's better to try it all by itself, wear only it, you know, put it here, your arms. Typically I wear perfume mostly on my underarms or my forearms on the back side, because then when I'm kind of waving my hands, which I think I do kind of a lot, then I kind of get my own fragrance. And I really, really enjoy that. Okay, guys, I'm off to the gym, and I hope that people will enjoy my fragrance. Maybe I'm going a little bit overboard for the gym. Maybe I should wash off, you know, the Meander and the Angelique and just go with the Ashoka. I don't know. It's kind of a shame, though, right? Oh, anyway, what have you guys been wearing? What do you wear in the colder season? Are you into patchouli? I love patchouli so much in the fall. I just find it so deep and satisfying. And I mean, I like the darker patchoulis that are combined, you know, with like resins and woods and maybe some sweet notes. I'm not so fond of like Gris Dior is also like a patchouli rose kind of chypre kind of fragrance. That's not so much my thing. I'm off Dior. I'm not so into Dior. There's not a single Dior fragrance that I think that is on my wish list. No, I don't think so. But what I really like about these two women and the podcast Eau de Pod is that they cover the entire range of fragrance. They talk about drugstore fragrances. They talk about little oils that they bought in some little shop or some market when they were, you know, abroad. They talk about Demeter. That's like a, you know, Demeter fragrance library, and how that's a good way to like explore notes. They talk about Lush, and they talk about also the very high-end fragrances. And they've been in this game for a while, I think, these two women, and they have a lot of like, they have a good frame of reference when it comes to fragrance, like way better, or, you know, bigger than I do, because I've been into fragrance, I mean, since I was a teenager, kind of. But I mean, I think they've been into like collecting fragrances and buying, and like I have the last maybe 4 years. In 2019, I think they've been in it like maybe, I'm just guessing, maybe at least 10 years. So they had more of like, they used to, they had sort of had more to offer, I think, in terms of, you know, associations and things like that. And I also like that they seem to be like, I think one of them has written a book about folklore. I'm not quite sure, but they're kind of intellectual women who have read a lot, and they've got a great vocabulary. I really appreciate that. Like, they don't talk about perfumes being stunning and that they're obsessed with them. They're so honest, and you can just tell that they're not paid by anyone. They're just kind of, you know, ranting along about anything that might, you know, interest them at the moment. And I really like that they use so many different words to describe fragrance, and I feel very inspired. I feel really inspired by them. I wish I could recommend them to you English speakers, but they're speaking Swedish at the moment anyway. Okay, guys. Talk to you soon.